There is a particular kind of exhaustion that has nothing to do with how much you've worked or how little you've slept. It is the exhaustion of performing a life that was never yours to begin with. You feel it, don't you? In the quiet moments, when the noise falls away, when there's nothing left to distract you from yourself. That low, grinding heaviness in the chest, the sense that you are, somehow, beside your own life, watching it happen, rather than living it. Most of us were handed a script before we were old enough to question it. Get the grades, get the job, get the house, be responsible, be reasonable, be palatable. Don't make waves, don't make people uncomfortable, don't want too much. And we followed it, because we loved the people who gave it to us, or because we feared what would happen if we didn't, or simply because we didn't know there was another way. The philosopher Alan Watts once said that the biggest ego trip is getting rid of your ego. What he meant was this: even the attempt to be selfless can be a performance. Even the attempt to be good can be a mask. Because underneath all of it, there is a self, a real one. And that self has been waiting very patiently for you to come home to it. Living with intention is not what most people think it is. It is not a morning routine. It is not a vision board. It is not grinding toward a goal someone else handed you and calling it purpose. Living with intention means this: pausing long enough to ask the question that most people spend their entire lives avoiding. What do I actually want? Not what should I want, not what would make my parents proud, not what looks impressive at a dinner party. What do I actually want? That question is terrifying, because answering it honestly requires something that our culture rarely rewards: authenticity. Authenticity is not a brand strategy. It is not a content pillar. It is not the version of yourself that you've carefully curated for public consumption. Authenticity is the willingness to be seen as you actually are, with your contradictions intact, with your strange desires and your inconvenient opinions and your unfinished edges. It is profoundly uncomfortable, and it is the only thing that will ever make you feel genuinely free. Think about the last time you said something you didn't mean, agreed with something you disagreed with, laughed at something you didn't find funny, went somewhere you didn't want to go, stayed somewhere you should have left. Small betrayals, each one barely noticeable on its own, but they accumulate, they calcify, and over time you look in the mirror and there is someone there who you don't entirely recognize. This is the soul-crushing weight that nobody warns you about. Not the weight of hardship. Hardship can be born. Hardship can even be beautiful. No. The weight I'm speaking of is the weight of inauthenticity. It is the weight of the version of yourself you present to the world, being so far from the version of yourself that actually exists inside you, that the distance between them feels like a kind of loneliness, even in a room full of people who love you. So what do we do with this? I'm not going to tell you to burn everything down, quit your job tomorrow, leave your life, go find yourself in the mountains. That's not what this is. Living with intention doesn't require a grand gesture. It requires something far more demanding. Honesty. Daily. Repeated. In the small moments where it's easiest to look away. It starts with noticing. Noticing when you say yes and you mean no. Noticing when you're performing rather than being. Noticing when the role you're playing has become more real to you than the person playing it. And then, gently, without drama, without self-punishment, choosing differently. Not all at once. One choice, one honest moment, one small act of refusing to abandon yourself. There is a version of your life that is entirely yours. Not the one your parents imagined, not the one your culture prescribed, not the one that looks correct from the outside. The one that, when you imagine it quietly, in the stillness before sleep, makes something in you settle. That feeling is not a fantasy. It is not irresponsible. It is not selfish. It is a compass. And the first step toward living with intention is simply choosing to trust it. You were not placed on this earth to fulfill someone else's vision of a life well lived. You were placed here to find out what that means for you, and then to live it. If something in these words found you today, if it moved something loose that needed moving, then you already know what the next step is. Trust that. And if you'd like to continue this conversation, like this video, subscribe to Moments of Calm. We'll be here whenever you're ready to come back to yourself. Take care.